This is a pre-recorded episode. I actually created it a couple weeks back. I scheduled it. It ties right into the series I got going on with the dive. Trials of Men. Men of virtue are ideal. That's the topic of this episode. Let's get to it. Men of virtue. I got this from none other than Jordan Peterson himself. Of course, the word virtue, we're all aware of it. One of the more archaic or old definitions of it is virginity or chastity, especially of women. But when Jordan Peterson released 12 Rules of Life, an Antidote to Chaos, he talked about virtue and being virtuous. I believe he also tied that into the follow-up, which is Beyond Order, which I got to reread that because I did go through it one time, but sometimes you don't understand something until you go through it multiple times. Let's define virtue. Virtue, by definition, you can look this up on Google, a behavior showing high moral standards, a quality considered morally good or desirable in a person, a good or useful quality of a thing. So for this series, all of these will tie into it, but I want to bring focus on that third part, which is a good or useful quality of a thing, which when we talk about the trials of men in this series, I'm talking specifically about the good and useful qualities of being masculine. So that's why virtue ties into it. There's going to be another component that will tie very well with virtue that I'm going to bring up next week. I don't want to mention it right now. I might have to reschedule some of the dives I have scheduled. I'll see how I work it out. I might do something like what I'm doing now, where I pre-record it and then I'll release it differently or separately. So the first broadcast of the series, I talked about men. One of the first qualities, one of the main qualities, I believe, is men and their desire to solve problems. And I tied that into video games and how that kind of warps the reward center for solving problems because video games introduce problems. There's going to be a lot more qualities, and all of these qualities are going to be a part or relating to what I refer to as the virtuous man or men of virtue. Because you can solve problems and you can do it in a completely unethical way, which unfortunately some businesses do today. They'll mine and do stuff, and then what is that thing with Flint, Michigan, where they poison the water or something like that? They were conducting business, but they were doing it in an unfavorable way. I got to kind of watch what I was saying. They were doing it in an unfavorable way. And just so happened today, um, one of the networks that I frequented, the Lapeef Let's Talk, turned into the Lapeef Network, and they got striked, by the tube because a troll came on and caused some uproar, and the tube struck him, And both Lapeef and Anton, from what I know about them, they seem to fit into this category of virtuous men, where they're trying to do better, and then you had this outside, you know, an entity seeking to do harm to the network that they had built for the past few months. And they kept it open, which now they're going to probably have to change that. But shout out to them. And eventually they'll get things figured out. They'll be back to it. The channel should be back up sometime soon. So I'm looking forward to that. But men of virtue. Because some of these qualities, you can totally do them the wrong way. But the reason why I'm talking about masculinity in general, I'm talking about the good parts, the useful parts, the parts and qualities of a man that people, and when I say people, I'm talking about society in its entirety, benefits from and values the most. Some creators, Kevin Samuels talks about the high value men. Jason Black talks about, you know, the peak value men, the producers, and then he referred to them as dragons. The guys that get stuff done, but they also do it in as ethical way as possible, and it benefits the society, not just themselves, but it benefits the people around them, and usually society as well. So I'm gonna keep this short, but I did just want to record something because I did have it scheduled, and I wanted to tie it into the series and how all these qualities we're referring to the good parts of it. Yes, anything can be used for bad. Tools can be used for bad, but it's about the people that wield those tools and what their objectives and goals are and how they use them. So I'm just giving you the tools of what makes a man a man. It is on you to choose to be virtuous with them. So I'm going to leave it there. Men of virtue, trials of men. Thanks for tuning in.